This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to the Front Porch, real conversations about life, leadership, and perseverance. Each week, Dennis Polian and Jay Davis bring you inspiring stories and lessons to help you grow, lead, and thrive. Pull up a chair. The conversation starts now.
Welcome back to another edition of the Front Porch podcast. I'm Dennis Polian. This is Jay Davis. We're happy to pull up a chair today. I am so excited for our guest today, Jay. I think you feel the same way. We are honored to be joined by Mariah Gates, who is an entrepreneur, former agency owner in our vertical insurance, but also now the founder and owner of a growing business on the tech side that services a number of clients from all levels, from my level to the biggest level. And she's also a wife and a mother of young kids. She's balancing it all, has a tremendous story. Her company's Accelerated Automation, and I can speak from firsthand knowledge. My first introduction was that I hired her company to help me set up technology in your business. And it is probably one of three things that are responsible for my growth in my first year owning a business. And ever since we started working with her and her team and started this show, Jay and I, Mariah, have been talking about having you on. So we are thrilled to have you and welcome.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction. I appreciate that. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you guys.
Awesome. What do you got, Jay? I know you're dying to ask a lot of questions today.
I'm good. I'm good. I'll follow the script, right? I always do every week. So I'll be respectful, Mariah, and I'll follow your lead.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about really what you're doing right now, a little bit about your background and how you actually got into doing what you were doing. Essentially, you were really solving a problem for yourself as a business owner, right?
Yeah, definitely. So what I do today is work with insurance agency owners around their operations and really empowering those with technology. That's the easiest way to explain it. And most insurance agencies are, sales organizations, very marketing and sales focused, new business. And a lot of the operation foundation gets, kind of pushed to the wayside and leaves some foundational holes. So that's what we do today. How I got here is I came from the banking industry and got recruited into insurance and became an agency owner. And because of my banking background, I was always very operations minded. I mean, as a bank manager, when you go through a bank audit, because you get audited consistently.
Shh, don't say that word.
Oh my God. It is one of those things that can induce a stroke, just the amount of stress and pressure, and everything has to be done really correctly. I mean, they're checking every signature, every initial, every dollar, every penny. Bank audits are extensive. So I was always very, very process oriented because of that, spending 5 years or 10 years in the banking industry before I got into insurance. And I came into insurance and realized where is the operations manual? Like, where is the process and procedure? It's going to teach me the right way to do these things. And it didn't really exist at that time. And I knew that was a problem for my own agency. I started building like a lot of our own kind of, piece together systems that, you use a lot of Excel sheets and Word documents, all these things, trying to kind of create our agency processes. And I stumbled into some software platforms through a marketing company that I was working with. I was learning more about marketing for my own agency, and I stumbled into it and I found the solution that I needed in my business to basically remove myself from the day to day. I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't want to be a producer or a CSR, or an overpaid producer, basically, by being a business owner there. And so I saw the solution and I dedicated, I told my staff, don't ask me to help with clients. Don't ask me to quote. I am building this system. And at the time, there was no one to help me with it. So that's how I got started in this. Is I just had this issue. When I found the problem, I dove feet first in and put everything else in my business on hold, and then spent an entire year becoming an expert. And now I've been doing this for the last 6 years, but that was what started it. I just I was trying to band-aid systems, and I was living in chaos. Like my agency was absolute chaos. Like I didn't know what my producers were doing, what type of customer service. My customer service person had like a legal pad on her desk that was all of her notes. And that was really, really bad, especially when COVID hit, caused a lot of problems for us. And so I was living through the pain and then started learning the solution.
So I'll back up, but to your point, you can't scale with pen and paper. I've learned that.
No, no.
Or pencil, whatever you use, right?
I had to let a staff member go who refused to let go of her paper. And she was a great producer. And I knew this was not the right thing for the business long term. And I had no idea we'd be living in the age of AI when I made these decisions, obviously, like 6 years ago. But even more so today, yeah, you cannot deal with pen and paper.
So to kind of back up a little bit, in kind of the quote unquote corporate world, at what point did you realize that really wasn't your mountain to climb? Was there some sort of just, the heavens opened up and the angels sang, or, was there a day, a time, something that you can remember that said, you know what, I think I can go do something on my own?
Yeah. So I was very focused on climbing the corporate ladder. I came from a low income household, my wonderful parents, but they were cashiers at a grocery store their entire career. And I always wanted to have more in life. So that always really motivated me. And when I got into the banking industry, I thought that's what I would do forever. And I really enjoyed it. And then I had kids, became a mom. So I'm married to the man of my dreams, who I met when I was 17. We've been together for 20 years now, but we started a family, and I was in banking, and I was commuting and working 6 days a week. And I was running a top branch in Washington State, where I was from. And nothing was ever good enough in the corporate world. We were in the top 3. We were, I was bonusing, all of the right things were happening, and the management always wanted more and more and more. They started cutting our staff to implement technology. So we're getting Cobalocks and cash recyclers and all of these different things. And I had basically half the staff that I did when I became the manager of the bank by the time I left. And I was left to pick up all the slack. And I was just working all the time. I was never home. The breaking point for me was I came home one day, and my kids, who were just, 2 and 3 years old, they were very little. And my husband says, "Mom's home." And they didn't even look up. They didn't care that I was there. And I just thought, this is not the life I want to live. This is not, I can't do this. What's the point? Nothing was ever good enough. And it was burning me out. And it was just that corporate soul sucking environment that I had to get out of. And that's when I started talking to my husband, and I put my resume out. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to stay where I was.
Yeah. Somehow kids always help us figure it out, right?
There's no question. That is exactly what happened to me when my daughter, who's 6 now, about 3 years ago, said on a Sunday when the season was over, "How come you're not at work?" And it was like 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And I said to my wife, I was like, something's wrong here.
Yeah. And I can't say that we always get much of a difference as an entrepreneur, right? Because it is so much. It's not like I traded, I now had way more time in my life by opening my own business, but I did get to decide. So I didn't miss things anymore. We coached our kids' t-ball, team several years in a row, which I never could have done if I had still been in the banking industry because of the hours. So I had the flexibility, which is what I wanted as an entrepreneur with my career. So I could still be a mom and still, chase, not the corporate ladder, but chase success. I have that in me that I wanted to do that.
Oh, that makes sense. Do you think, or did you think at any point when you made the transition from banking to now you're an entrepreneur, you own a business, it's your money, were there moments where you said, I don't know if I made a mistake, maybe was this the right thing to do? And how did you get through that moment?
Yeah. So definitely there's lots of them. And I think, even 11 years later as an entrepreneur, there's still days, right? It's the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur. I don't think it gets necessarily easier, or you don't have those thoughts. You just, like, failure is no longer an option at some point, I guess. Like, you just keep pushing. But yeah, when I had, a mortgage, 2 car payments, 2 little kids at home, my husband worked, and I became a scratch agent. So I left my salary job with all of our benefits, with a bonus structure, to make no money and be a scratch agent. And so they call it scratch for a reason. That's I didn't buy a book.
No,
And
yes.
yeah, I didn't know that was an option to buy an agency. I did do my research. It took me about 6 months to decide, but I just jumped in full. We pulled out, our retirement, which wasn't a lot because I was still in my 20s, and, pulled that out and said, okay, it's do or die. And there was times where I was deciding, do I sponsor this lunch at this real estate office for marketing, or do I pay the minimum, and have to pay the minimum on our credit card? I didn't have a big nest egg to be able to start this business. And when I was recruited, I was very misled as to how much money really it takes to start a business, and what we should have known going into it. That's my fault. When you're an entrepreneur, there's no one to blame, but I didn't know enough to research, and I wasn't guided well. And so, yeah, there was a ton of that. There was a ton of balancing, credit cards and loans, and just this, like conversations with my husband where I'm like, what if I fail, and crying in my house. And he was like, then we fail together, and then we file bankruptcy or whatever. But I believe in you. And that has actually been huge in my entire career, is that I have this cheerleader of a husband who just thinks I can do anything. I feel like he doesn't understand that that's not true, but he's just so supportive, which is amazing. And we've been through a lot through that as well. But that really failure wasn't an option. Just keep moving forward.
The Front Porch is a support group, just so you know. So yes, the 3 of us have all been through it. Same thing, same. I always tell people that, the ceiling fan at 3 a.m. was my best counselor, my best psychologist, because I used to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and stare at the ceiling fan and wonder how I'm going to make all this happen, right? Pay staff, find new business, etc. And so, yeah, so you're in the right spot here on the Front Porch.
It's true. But the most important thing I get out of that, though, is, and, I made the career pivot at 48, with giving up an established career and all of that. And it's probably was harder for me than for you to just say what you just said. Is you have to have somebody to be able to talk to, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a mentor, to at least articulate what's being internalized, so that you can kind of get through those moments. Because I see a lot of people who are starting businesses, who are starting out in just normal careers, whether it be a teacher or a coach, somebody on Wall Street, whatever it is, and they hit a bump in the road, and they quit and they give up because they really didn't talk to anybody, didn't have any support system to lean on. That's why the Front Porch is here, actually. But more therapy for us than you as a guest, I think.
It's true, though. It is such a lonely road, right? And not everybody has somebody in their life. And I was a farmer's agent, so I had a district, and my first district manager was horrible. And the support, the saving grace where there was that he had a consultant who was a really good trainer. And so I'm very grateful for that. I had a great trainer early on. But the first thing I did as a new agent is I was in the district office, and I asked the district manager who has started an agency in the last year. I want to talk to that person. And Jared Boucher was the agent in Washington. And him and I have stayed friends, and he's now, a client and a friend, and I'm a client of his and all this different stuff. But he was the person, from the business side. My husband was always my cheerleader, but didn't understand the business. My husband was, at the time, he worked in mills, and he worked at Pepsi, and just very much labor jobs when I was working in the professional sector. And Jared was a great friend that, we bonded over business, new business, and he had come from a family of business owners. So he had given me a ton of guidance as well, and the sounding board. And then my older sister, who actually works at Travelers Insurance. So she had a lot of experience in the industry, not as an agent, completely different side of the business, but having those people that I could talk to. I mean, that it kept me motivated to move forward because I didn't know anybody. And I was in a very small town at this time. There was like 15,000 people in the town that I started my agency in.
Oh, wow.
And it was very lonely.
Mm-hmm. That's not a lot of prospects.
There was neighboring towns, but I learned quickly you can't be stuck by your geography, right? You've got to go outside.
What part of that struggle propelled you to do what you're doing now?
I think that, I have to say, like, what I'm doing now, I do by the grace of God, because I didn't search for it. The business found me. And I'm actually just finished a book called Great by Choice that I've been reading. And they talk a lot about like luck and the percentage of luck and timing and taking advantage of luck and all these stories that they have researched and businesses that they've talked to, and they have a certain amount of luck. And I think that my luck was that I got in with a platform, with a CRM platform that was a startup that was early, that had the right founders, the right developers. And if I had picked the wrong platform, I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity that I had. But in that struggle as a business owner and as a mom and in living in this chaos, what led me to do what I do actually today, and the reason I do it, is because I feel for every single business owner who had to go through that. I not only have been raising kids, while I've been a business owner, but my husband is, praise God, 3 years sober. He's an alcoholic for over 10 years. And that caused a lot of turmoil in our relationship. We separated, we almost got divorced, a lot of marriage counseling. And you have to live life as a business owner while trying to do all of the things your business demands. And chaos, it causes so much stress and undue pressure. And what we do today is add clarity, add processes, add systems, add expectations, ways to monitor that and help a business owner understand what's going on and replicate their best practices. And that's that journey of like that just chaos of life with little kids, a husband who was struggling. I had my insurance agency. This was also during COVID. We homeschooled for a while. I started accelerated automation. Like, there was so much going on. We have lived in such chaos. It motivates me so much to bring clarity and like peace to business owners, because I've seen the difference in my own life. And it's not just money. It's not just, I can clock out early. It is literally peace in your soul when you know what's going on and you can navigate from day to day and you're not just living in this mess.
As you would say, that's gold.
That is gold. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's
Clarity
that's
through
awesome.
Chaos should be the title of your book. That's a great line.
That's awesome.
I'm going to steal. But that level of perseverance, you should be commended for, one, but two, how do you, where did you find that? Can you even speak to it besides faith and family? And what did you do for yourself to keep going through that, to make that all happen? You basically scaled a business, successfully exited a business you built, and kept your family together and helped your husband at the same time. So that's 1% in terms of the number of people that could achieve that. How do you, when you look back on it, can you say this might be the one or two things that actually got me through that?
Life moves fast, but the unexpected doesn't care about your calendar. At the Polian Agency, we help successful families protect what they've worked so hard to build. From life insurance to smart coverage strategies, we tailor protection that grows with you, so you're prepared for whatever's next. The Polian Agency, where protection meets purpose. Visit PolianAgency.com or call 254-772-1444 to start the conversation.
I wish that I could say there was one or two things. I really do believe that, well, I've said this on stage. I think that business owners in general, entrepreneurs, I think that we are a little crazy. We have a screw loose. And I said about part of business owners, and I believe it. But I think that entrepreneurship, I think you really actually have to be designed for it. And the only reason I say that today is because as I get older, right, I ask myself that sometimes, like, it would be so much easier in my life to just have a job, right? And there was things in life that I want that would give me, but there's also nothing in my soul that wants to do that. I've been put in a position by God to lead others and to provide a service and to do things. And I believe that that's the purpose that I'm here for. So I think that entrepreneurs, I think business owners, I think you are either created for it or you're not. And those that try to force themselves into it struggle. And it can result in things like, divorce and regret and all of these pieces. And so I can't say that, because all of these different phases I've gone through in life, that it would have been so much easier to quit. It would have been easier to quit on my marriage. It would have been easier to quit on my business. I actually sold 2 agencies. So I started scratch, sold an agency. We moved our family from one state to another also right before COVID. We moved to Idaho and took over an agency here. And I sold that one 2 years ago. But there was just never there's those moments of like, oh, my life would be so much easier if, but then you basically get rid of that and you just wake up the next day and keep going. So I think that God gives us each a unique purpose here and a unique set of skills. And when you find that, it's almost impossible to quit when you've found your purpose. So it didn't occur to me to quit. I just kept going.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And hopefully people that are listening hear the value in that. It didn't occur to you to quit. Like, that is a special mindset.
Yeah.
That's you have to have that mindset to be successful as a business owner. There's no question.
So through all that, I didn't know you sold 2 agencies, so that's pretty cool. And moving state to the next state, that's awesome. When you sold those businesses, I know the back end with the, our CRM, and then bolting on with, we'll plug it, Agency Zoom, right?
Yep.
You get so I hope you had the side hustle going on while this was all going on too. I mean, there's so many questions now. I'm totally off script now, which did us. Yeah, I mean, you got all this going on, and now you're doing the side hustle on the back end too. This is I've got to reset here a little bit, but yeah. So you're doing that?
So when we moved from Washington State, it wasn't a good fit for us. And so we sold that agency, and I was kind of in between things. I was consulting with some districts and helping agents learn financial services and things, because I did that in my agency as well. And we decided it wasn't a good place for us and we were going to move. So when I took over the agency here, again, no accelerated automation, right? I wasn't doing that then. It was just my agency. My husband got a job. And we also, when we moved to Idaho, man, as I'm saying this, it sounds a little crazy that as I'm repeating it back, but we've been here for 7 years and we've moved 6 times in Idaho in the last 7 years as well as, taking over an agency and selling it and starting an accelerated automation. Also, COVID happened. We homeschooled our kids. So when I started accelerated automation, my husband was working full time. And our kids were actually homeschooling at the time. We pulled them out of school after COVID happened, but a lot of parents did this, right? And we kind of know that story. And I had the agency. I had moved my agency into a co-work space, and my team was all remote except for one employee, because that's what COVID did to most of us, right? It opened up the idea of remote work. So I was able to hire people all over the country. And then I just had agencies asking me to help them with agencies with the CRM, because I was sharing it. I'm an oversharer by nature. I'm like, I shared something about like how to make your avocados last longer. And it's my favorite thing ever to share with people because they always go bad so fast. But I'm always trying to share things that make people's lives easier. And that was Agency Zoom for my business. It was changing everything for me. And people kept asking me for help. And I said no for 3 months. I told people, no, I don't have time. I have homeschool and the agency and, life. And the founder of the company actually had finally officially asked me to help in an official capacity with their users. Turned him down for a couple of months, prayed about it a lot, and then finally said, well, this isn't going away. The Lord's telling me something that I need to do here. So I'm just going to try it out. And my goal was, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I am not, I'm like the opposite of Martha Stewart. That's why I'm a good business owner, because I'm not like a good homemaker at all. And I wanted a housekeeper. I hate cleaning my house. I'm a horse girl. I would rather like shovel horse poop versus like clean my house. And so I wanted a housekeeper, and these people were asking me for help. And I was like, well, maybe if I can make a couple $100, helping them with their CRM, and I'll, pay for a housekeeper. And my husband agreed. And that's kind of what was the little push motivation, I guess. And then when I started doing it, I just got obsessed with it. And it was really hard for me to ever spend any time on my own insurance agency because I wanted to work on all my clients' agencies. A couple of President's Council agents at Farmers had me build the system for them because they were launching a Salesforce platform, and it was really clunky in the beginning. And I built it out, and then they just told everyone, and it spread like wildfire. And then I had to figure out how to keep up. So then I had to hire people and scale and build a service and a website and a pricing model. And I had no idea how to build the company that I have today. So it was a lot of trial and error.
What was the most fun part of that?
I really like building businesses. It is figuring out the puzzle. An insurance agency, like, don't get me wrong, it's complex, but there's a model, right? You don't set the pricing. The carrier sets the pricing and the product. Everyone has to have it. It does certain things or doesn't do certain things. And as the business owner, you don't have to make those decisions. In the business I built, I had to decide all of that. Nobody told us what we could or couldn't do. It was completely up to us. And so that was the most exciting part, is like, there was no, in banking, there's all the compliance, and in insurance, there's all the compliance as well. And there's always like the oversight of the carriers and all of that. That didn't exist in this business model. So the sky was the limit. So it was exciting and very challenging, because every decision, if it worked out, it was exciting. But if it didn't work out, it was awful, right? Mm-hmm. So you get all the failures with it as well, which we've got a nice list of those that we've learned from.
So I kind of have an idea, but I'll ask the question. Was there kind of a personal habit, a discipline, or something that, kind of quietly held your world together?
My husband is my person that holds my world together. And my habit is that he is very attentive, and we have a lot of fun together. My staff, like I kind of recruit this way. Like I lovingly call my staff my favorite group of weirdos, because down deep, I'm like pretty odd. And my husband is somebody who knows that and supports that. And he's goofball with me. And he's been the only thing that's been solid throughout my entire career and life that has held me together. I call him my emotional support husband. Literally.
I don't know that I would be described that way at home, but
I call him that. I mean,
that's awesome.
There are days I come in, to the house, and I'm a total mess. 5 minutes later, talking to him, I'm ready to like conquer the world again and back out and working. And he has been the consistent thing. He has struggled, throughout our marriage as well, and had to lean on me, but we have always been there for each other. We are pretty private people. We don't have a really big group. As far as like, friends and stuff, we really do rely on each other. And that's been what's held us together, is that we've grown together. We share goals together. We over communicate together. And, 20 years into our relationship, I would not change a single thing, but there was times where I wanted to throw all of it away and find a nice big hole to bury him in. So, we've been through all of that, but it's him. He's the one that's allowed me to do this.
I think, when you right, today's world, everything is moving toward trying to get clicks, and people like drama and negativity and everything like that. It's always good to hear stories of perseverance and going through those things that we really all go through, but actually come through on the other side, that you can do all of those things, go through all of that as a business owner, as a wife and husband and a family, and still come out of it on the other side stronger and still in love and still supporting each other.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt, and that's a question for you, Mariah, but I think everybody sees, entrepreneurs, like you said, we're a little different, and everybody sees what they think is the finished product or the success, but they don't know really what it took, the grit, grind, and perseverance, the hard work, whether it's personal, professional, spiritual, all the things behind the scenes that it takes to produce kind of an ongoing product. I can't say a finished product, but an ongoing product. It's freaking hard, so yeah.
It is. Yeah. And it's not like, and we hear this in all the motivational stuff you can find all over online about you got to have your purpose. But I think that in anything that we do, we do operations and tech, right? It's not like that's something that fires up my soul. What fires up my soul is the result of helping the people that get that tool and how their life gets better. And when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a pediatrician. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I've always loved kids, and I wanted to be a doctor. And I got into nursing school and stuff, and quickly realized that that's not what I was cut out for at all. So the financial sector was much better for me. But that needs to help people, right? Whatever it is that your business is, it doesn't matter if you're, making a widget, you make an item, you solve a problem, you make something easier for people. If you keep people as the center of what you're doing, then that fuels you, because I can't fail for my clients. I can't fail for my staff, right? They are here relying on me to be a good leader. They are here relying on me to make good decisions for their families and for their jobs, and also relying on me to help them achieve their goals in life, whether that be working on their relationships or career aspirations or whatever that is. So when you've got people that actually count on you, again, it just doesn't occur to me to quit. Again, I might go into my kitchen and cry and say I want to quit 5 minutes, and then I'm right back at it, right? So it's not like you don't have those feelings. You just never act on them. You just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of your team, how much of your team is remote? Is everybody remote, or do you have
everybody but one employee? My executive assistant, who, for those of you who are listening and have a business, if you don't have an executive assistant and you have more than 5 employees, that should be your next hire. Changed my entire life having an executive assistant. She's amazing. She's in office. Everybody else is remote, kind of all over the country, literally from Washington State all the way down to Florida and in between.
Now that's awesome. But I also wonder, I've struggled with the idea of hiring remote, but I want to, but I always struggle with, how am I going to best manage that person? How am I going to hold them accountable? And then how do I take that model and move it to the next level, by adding that? How have you been able to do that? Do you have a specific disciplined routine of communication, or do you allow your virtual board to be open essentially all day for them in terms of dialogue and communication as things occur throughout the day?
Yeah. Great systems that obviously make it easier for you to communicate. We use what would be the equivalent of Teams or Slack. Our phone system is Room Central, and so that's built into our phone system. There's an internal team chat there. That's always open. I love it. It helps build culture. The amount of ridiculous GIFs and memes and stuff that's shared in there really helps as well. But for remote, making sure that you have scheduled dedicated time for those people because you aren't, arm to arm. You can't walk over and say hello. So we have regular meetings based on department every single week. And then once a month, we actually shut the company down. That's actually going to be tomorrow for us. And it's a team training day. And we're all hands in the meeting. We spend time talking about, like, we play icebreakers like 2 Truths and a Lie. We read books together and talk about like habits, things that we're working on in our professional life, our spiritual journeys. We get really vulnerable, which actually helps from a perspective of like accountability, because when you know the people that you work with and you're relying on each other and you're all playing a role to achieve a goal together, there is just a built-in accountability when you hire the right people, or you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to be the one at the bottom. So much of it with remote is the right people. And trust me, I have hired a lot of the wrong people that I've had to let go, but I'm able to do it pretty quickly because we have systems that are all cloud-based, all remote-based, where we can track everything. And I also rely on my team. There has been times where my team members have come to me and say, I don't think this is the right person, or I think this is the right person. You have to get a lot of opinions because everyone's interacting with each other all remote, and you don't get to see those things. So it's a group effort, and it's a learning curve, because I had only managed people in person prior to, I guess I would say 2021 was probably when I started doing remote. Wow. It was hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain here. Slick Rick over here doesn't like the word vulnerability. He thinks it's a little corporate. So I'm going to throw him under the bus here a little bit. So I'll reframe this question a little bit. I threw vulnerability out in a podcast, I don't know, our 4th or 5th podcast, and I got smoked on it. But anyway, so I'll reframe this question. Yeah, I'll get him.
I can't think of anything witty to say right
No,
now.
you can't, just because I came out of left field with that. So
Renee Brown would be very proud of you. She talks a lot about vulnerability.
I know. I've read a lot of her. Actually watched a TED Talk from her yesterday.
So I'll reframe this question that doesn't have vulnerability in the question. So you've reinvented yourself several times. Which version of yourself is the hardest to let go of? And what part have you tried the hardest to hold on to?
So I am probably common in an entrepreneur where I'm very type A. I'm very controlling, which is why operations is so good for me, because I can control the operation. And that is the part of me that I've worked the hardest to let go of. And in my professional and personal journey, because of my journey with my husband through his addiction and everything, and him, I really was like the leader of our family. They joke about, your husband goes to the grocery store and they call you and they're like, what cereal do we buy? And it's been the same cereal for 10 years and he doesn't know what it is. That was me. I knew everything about the family and he didn't. And a lot of that was because I couldn't trust him with his addiction that he was going through. And then he was saved and everything and got sober. And I have had to step back. I am not the leader of my family anymore. Which is, in my opinion and my religious belief, the way that God designed it, that men are designed to lead. But I am also a CEO. So the hardest part for me has been to accept the fact that my role is different in different parts of my life. At home, I was very much the CEO of my household, and that caused a lot of problems in my marriage, and was very emasculating for my husband. And as we went through this journey and he really became the man that he always wanted to be, I had to step back and let go of control and trust him. And I am so grateful for that, because that has translated into my business. I have team members on my team that make decisions every single day that I don't find out about for weeks. And I come back later and learn, and it's because I trust them, and I've given them that freedom to make those decisions and pull from their experience and do that. So through giving up the controlling part of me, I have learned to trust others around me and delegate, which has improved my life immensely.
That is awesome.
The parts that I try to hold on to is my energy, which is dwindling fast as I approach 40. Like always tired. And I think just in general, like just having kind of that, I wish I held on to more of my naive hope of the world. Like when I was young, just as you get older and you see the world for more of what it is and people for who they are, it's harder to hold on to a little bit of that like joy and hope. So that's been tough. And the world's been, a little crazy lately. I don't watch the news anymore. I used to be very involved in current and world events, and that's hard. So it's harder and harder for me to keep the negativity out, I think. And I'm trying to hold on to that positive mindset.
Yeah, that's awesome. The positive, I really believe positive attitude, not necessarily positive thinking the way, you might see those weird Facebook ads, about chakra and wavelength and things like that, but just a positive outlook, like a faithful outlook is so contagious among your team it's such a great point that you bring up, because I basically go through the day feeling exhausted. And the minute I find the energy to be positive with my team, and then they reciprocate that, it snowballs, and all of a sudden you're feeding off of their energy instead of trying to give them energy, when it really didn't take that much, but just that little subtle block in your mind can keep you from doing that. And probably that mindset that you have is probably a huge factor in why you've been so successful over the years.
Yeah, it's I completely agree with that. My team, in those team meetings that we do, one of them we had 2 months ago, one of my project managers said, I feel like I just went to like a motivational speaking conference. She was so like excited. We did so much work around motivation and mindset. And I felt very drained after the meeting, because I was the one giving them, doing that. Yeah. And we get to the end and we're wrapping up. She's like, I just feel like I want to go run, like all jacked up. And I was like, yeah. And then I just got this energy. I need a nap. Because I thought, I'm thinking like, is this falling flat? Like, what, did this do what we were hoping? And I was so excited by her response. And then I left the meeting all excited too. I just had this great meeting. And if she hadn't said that, I probably would have come out and been like, I just had this meeting. I'm not really sure it did anything, So it is amazing how that transfer of energy, it's so helpful, because as much as you want to, follow all these guys who are like 10x, 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 I'm like, everybody has those moments where you are just tired and burnt out and you want to do more, but we all have limits, and we have to be also like aware of those limits and rest as well.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yeah.
So Dennis and I, from football, golf, we've made a 180 pivot when we got in this business. If you could provide some advice, a little quip, something for someone that might be afraid, stuck, to pivot into something that they've got this burning desire to be an entrepreneur, but maybe they don't have the circle of support, and everybody around them, when they bring it up, thinks they're crazy. Why would you do that? You've got a great job. If you could tell somebody out there listening to this podcast, what would you want them to hear today?
The thing I wish I would have learned earlier is to actually learn how to internalize not caring at all what people think. And I will say that is probably a superpower I was born with. All through school, even like as a young kid, my older sister used to tell me, you say everything that everybody else is thinking. Can't you just, keep your mouth shut? Like, for example, like that one thing, like I would always speak out, and I didn't care I didn't care what people thought of me. And then I got a little older. And then when you start exposing yourself to more masses and you get negative feedback, you start caring. But as you go on through life longer, you understand where that negative feedback comes from that person. And it's not anything about you. So my advice would be just don't give a shit. Just do what you want to do and bet on yourself, because think about yourself in 10 years. Do you want to regret, or do you want to be, chasing what you love? And life is, you just get one chance at life. You just get one chance. Like, I'm the midway point, right? My husband and I are talking about this. 40, I'm like, oh man, life expectancy is 80. We're midway. I don't want to have any regrets. Like, from now on, this is the chapter of, I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do when I want to do it. I'm going to say what I want to say, and you're just going to have to deal with it. If you don't like me, that's fine.
That's awesome.
So try to get in that mindset sooner and you'll be golden.
Oh, that's awesome. This may be our best episode so far. This is all so much valuable information. We're super grateful for that, and really appreciate your vulnerability.
Big time.
And just how open you are, because it's so important for people to realize that they're not alone in those things, right? Nobody's isolated in that it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that you struggle as a business owner, you struggle as a partner, that there's ups and downs, and it's part of life, and the right outlook will get you through to the other side and be successful. So thank you so much, Mariah, for that. Where can our listeners find you?
So our website is acceleratedautomation.net. I'm on all the social platforms as well, so you can find me all over the place, business pages and personal pages. We are also a Orange partner with Vertifor. So, Agency Zoom is the platform we work in. It was purchased by Vertifor a few years ago. So that's another big ecosystem you can find us in.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Yes. Well, we appreciate your time, and appreciate everybody tuning in for another episode of the Front Porch. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mariah.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on the Front Porch. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, share, and leave a review so more people can join the conversation. Until next time, keep showing up, keep leading strong, and we'll see you back on the porch soon.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.